Why will it be different this time? The French are not doing their part. We've taken evidence on this committee about interception of crafts when they're in the water. International maritime lawyers gave us evidence to say that the French authorities are entitled and within international maritime law to intercept boats in the water and return the passengers to French territory, or to allow border force to return the migrants to French territory if they're picked up in British territorial waters. Yesterday, we had a French military naval vessel escorting one of the boats into British territorial waters and then trying to hand over the occupants to a boat full of journalists. This is ridiculous, and it makes a mockery of it. So just giving the French more money to carry on doing what they're doing badly is not going to solve the problem. When are you going to get the French to admit they can intercept and get them to intercept? And that is the only thing that is going to cut off that supply of people coming to Calais thinking they can get across the Channel, when in fact they shouldn't be able to get across the Channel if the French did what they're entitled to do under international law. Rant over, isn't that correct?
Well, first of all, if I may, just on France, France are intercepting more white boats than they did this time last year. So I think, we have to reflect upon that. And that is because the numbers are so high. The numbers are going up. Now, I've mentioned Belgium, you've mentioned Belgium as well. There's a lot of work taking place both with the Belgian authorities and the authorities in the Netherlands as well, and Germany. So these countries are all pivotal to stopping the flows of illegal migration, then coming into northern France and France. Now, you've specifically spoken about tactics at sea, and I have absolutely discussed this directly with my French counterpart, and I've made it abundantly clear, and this committee, this isn't new news to the committee, I've raised this previously, and Paul Lincoln will want to come in on this as well, is that we have absolutely been looking at what we can do at sea in terms of maritime tactics, all within the legal framework, absolutely within the legal framework of saving lives at sea and international maritime law. And the French are aware of that as well. They absolutely know exactly what the responsibilities are.
But they're ignoring it. But do you accept that the French have the power under international maritime law to intercept boats in the water, in French territorial waters, and return them to French territory? You do accept that? Right. So what has your French counterpart told you when you said... They
absolutely recognise that, and they would argue that they are doing their bit. But what they will not do, and I think there is an important point to differentiate here, in terms of tactics at sea, that's different to actually pushing boats back or, the saving life at sea. They have a different application. Paul has spent a lot of time, and his team has spent a lot of time, having those operational discussions with the French. They have a different interpretation of saving lives at sea in the way in which the SOLAS principle actually applies. And as I've said, we are looking at all aspects in terms of pushbacks and how we can absolutely...
Okay, but Home Secretary, that is an excuse from the French. The French having a different interpretation is the French giving you an excuse for not doing what they are not only able to do under international law, but actually obliged to do under international law, because two crimes are being committed by the occupants of those boats. One is trying to enter the UK illegally, and secondly is paying money to organised crime, both of which provide grounds for those boats to be intercepted, the occupants apprehended in as safe a way as possible, and returned to France. You are getting fobbed off with excuses.